Good afternoon, VV Nation. Happy Friday. Welcome. Now, the alert will be hitting in just a moment, so we'll give everyone a chance to make their way into the room. Now, if you can hear me, if you can see me, please put the appropriate VV in the comment section for VV Nation, just letting me know that you can hear me, you can see me. We get the technical stuff out of the way. We got Clay in the background today. All right. Yes, Troy. Thank you. James, John, Makash. We've got some people making their way into the room here. So we'll give it just a moment as everyone makes their way back in. And, this is what it's obviously, moving the market today. The Israeli-Iranian conflict. Obviously, we had warnings about it earlier this week, talking about an inevitable attack in the upcoming days. We talked about that in the live stream yesterday a little bit. Defense, the usual suspects, gold, oil, things of that nature, which obviously those are up today while the general market is down. Now, through the gap down that we saw, we did see, the market trying to find a rally. I was looking at a couple of stocks and ETFs, some of them, trying to fill the gap down since yesterday. So we'll see how it plays out. Let me move this comment section over. There we go. All right, is Glenn and Joey doing a Friday power lunch and didn't invite you guys? Yeah, we didn't get the invite, John. Pennywise, thank you for VV Nation. Thank you for letting us in. Michael Stain, yes, is it time to buy protective puts? Yes, we were talking about getting defensive on the live stream yesterday, covered calls, protective puts, things of that nature. But, with MTI elevated levels, Bill says, but indices are recovering nicely. I did notice that. A lot of indices, a lot of stocks are filling the gap. I did a little gap fill play today on AMD. But I'll put it like this. I wouldn't get too defensive until we see some of our proprietary market timing signals change direction, right? Tabula says everything green, all systems go. Now, I don't think the markets were too surprised by this conflict here, but the severity, if it escalates, then obviously it can, affect the market a little bit more. But right now, the usual suspects of the Middle East conflict are, potential war, gold, oil, defense stocks. That's what's moving today. So if you do want to, play that momentum trade, we'll take a look at some of those type of stocks here momentarily. But you can see, just looking at the Dow Jones, the NASDAQ, S&P, VectorVest composite, since the gap down, well, actually, we'll just take a look at the VectorVest composite here. One day. Let me take off value. There we are. We see the gap down. We see that we're in the gap, trying to fill the gap right now. Now, I will say this. There was breaking news because I think it was the 6th round of talks between Iran and the United States was supposed to take place Sunday, but CNBC just reported saying that those talks are halted. So we shall see how this comes about. Michael says, is there a way to search for defense stocks on the mobile or website? On VectorVest 7, you can go to Industry Viewer, and it will be the defense and aerospace industry. Now, as far as the mobile software, let's take a look and see if there's any custom portfolios here in just a moment. But getting back to the general market, right? Not even the primary wave is down. Everything is still up. So I want to get, if you want to, tiptoe into defensive type of positions, things of that nature, or, option strategies, that, I get it with the MTI so high. But as of right now, the primary wave is still up. That's our fastest moving market timing signal. As I scroll down here, if we take a look, the price of VectorVest composite 71.18. Actually, it did go down. Sorry, up here, the primary wave was up. This won't be updated until after the close. But if we take a look here, the MTI is still at 1.54. If you take a look at the trend column, it is flashing down as of right now. Yeah, Bill, I see that. It's not technically down because if the VectorVest composite does rally above 71.26 by today's close, we will remain in up. So it is teetering, right? That's why, getting defensive with the MTI so high, geopolitical items, escalating obviously Hey, Encyclopedia Iran Russia going to drop. I'm not going to read that. We'll see what happens. But that's a little on the extreme side of things. But that being said, primary wave is flashing down. Price of VectorVest composite surpassed 5 days ago from 71.26 to now 71.17. RT lower than it was 5 days ago. And even the BSR, so it's not just 1 day trend kind of thing. We're looking at 5 day trends here in the market. And our proprietary indicators are all lower than it was 5 days ago. Pennywise listing out quite a few defense plays. There are definitely some big names. Bill, yes, I would definitely chill out on that kind of comment. Tabula, 1 day doesn't make a trend. No, it doesn't, Tabula. But these indicators are all trending lower than they were 5 days ago. So the MTI so high, primary wave flashing down. Definitely not going to advocate buying any stocks. We talked about this yesterday or 2 days ago with Glenn on the live stream. Someone asked, would you still be buying stocks right now? Because we had, a little bit of optimism in the market earlier this week. I said, just be careful. Obviously, because the MTI is so high right now, not the most ideal time to be doing so. John Boss says, funny how high the MTI gets a major news event. Seems to happen all the time. I've kind of noticed that as well. Sold out most of my positions. Now I'll wait for the MTI to drop to 1. Well, Jazz, whether it's 1 or 1.1, 0.6, who knows? It can go as low as, it can go much lower than 1. But you're going to want to look for things like green lights appearing back in the price column of the color guard. Primary wave going back to up, right? RTX hit a higher 52-week high at 145. Yes. Defense, oil, gold. That's what I'm going to be bullish on right now. Tech, travel, leisure, airlines, things of that nature. It could definitely be a little rocky in those type of positions, right? VectorVest is controlling the markets. No, we're not that powerful. Encyclopedia defend leverage ETF is killing. Yes, triple leverage. It's defend. So if you don't want to have to, cherry pick and look through all the defense charts, things of that nature, and you're looking for quick momentum, defend's a good one to check out. Pennywise says, check out EUAD for European defense exposure and KDEF for Korean defense industry exposure. I actually like that. It's not just the United States, but it's also our allies. As we've seen the Trump administration calling on Europe and some of our other allies, step it up when it comes to defense. And with geopolitical issues still on the rise, well, that makes for an easy argument, right? Now, if we take a look here, let's look at the advanced declines today. Look at the declines coming in at 67.7% or 6,500. Advance is only at 2,000. So you see the declines almost triple what the advances are doing here. So just be careful of that as well. If you're still holding bullish positions, I'd be more worried about protecting profits than, jumping in and buying a bunch of stocks today, especially going into the weekend. You got to think about that, right? Because if anything happens over the weekend, if these tensions ramp up, well, guess what? You're not going to be able to sell any positions until Monday, right? So no matter what happens, you got to hold that gap. So if you're of the mindset, hey, I'm happy with my profits, from the run over the last, two or so months here, taking some profits, waiting for the next opportunity, not a bad idea. Tabula, why are markets superstitious? I'm not going to say that they're not. They can move superstitiously, but that's why we stick to the charts, why we stick to the math, stick to our proprietary indicators and algorithms that have been in use since the 80s, right? We don't want to get caught up in all the noise that's going to be going on in the market right now. That being said, Pennywise said, I'm currently up 70% with my DRS position. John says, had SPY puts, hedging, so wasn't worried about today. Look at that. There we go, hedging. That is not a bad idea. Just a little bit of hedging there by any means. Let me clear that one out here. Awesome job, by the way, on DRS, Pennywise, up 70%. That's a great call there. But yeah, defense is hot, rocking and rolling. Furby says, when the market dropped this morning, my stop loss was triggered only on a few of my stocks. Okay, and that's what the stop loss is for, right? Try to get you out when that MTI is high. Try to get you out right when the primary wave is down, right? You want to take profits out of high. You don't want to be taking profits out of low because they may not even be profits by then, right? Protect profits. How did you say find defense stocks on the VV website again? Go into VectorVest 7, Michael. Go to the viewers tab. Over on the left, they got the industry viewer. Look for aerospace and defense industry. That'll list all the aerospace and defense stocks. Or if you just pull up, like Lockheed Martin or a defense company and you right click on it in the VectorVest 7 software, just go to view stocks and industry group. Paul says world bonds are down, yields are up. Well, yes, because there's a little bit more risk in the world markets, right? So investors are going to want higher yields to make up for that risk. Just think about it. Just kind of like what we saw some bond woes here in the U.S. with, tariff concerns, weak demand, push the yields up a little bit. Free buffet for everybody. VectorVest, VV needs to add ISMAY to the system because it doesn't pop up. All right, Pennywise, I'm going to find a pin here. Is that a defense stock, Pennywise? It's a Spain-based defense company doing drone, cybersecurity, AI, and space. Well, that seems pretty hot. So let's see your IS.
Brian, I got it. I'll put it in chat.
Oh, thank you, Clay. Clay's going to write that down. We'll get it over to Angie in the data department because obviously we want to get you the hot defense stocks in the VectorVest 7 software. It's Spain-based, so it's probably going to be an ADR. It should be able to get into the software as far as an ADR here. Friday 13th. Oh, that's right. It is Friday the 13th. I didn't even think about that. No wonder it's a little wonky today, right? Are we doing stock picks already? No, Tabula, we're not doing stock picks already. And I'll be honest with you. I'm still debating if I want you to pick. I got two categories. Put a 1 in the comment section if we should take stocks that you've already owned and you're thinking about taking profits of. Or put a 2 in the comment section if you want to do, like gold, oil, defense stocks, something to buy. So, one's for what we should take profit in. 2, potential opportunities for, the next momentums. Obviously, there's going to be a little industry rotation with everything going on here. We got 1, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2. Looks like a whole lot of 2s here. All right, Tabula says half, 1 and 2. 1 and 2. We still... we have till 4 p.m. right? John, I don't have till 4 p.m. I got a power hour in the community room today. And there I'll be taking all of your stocks. Any stocks you give me, we'll get those addressed in the power. Hey, Ryan, what are the best stocks to carry into the weekend? I would say, most likely some kind of gold, some kind of oil, probably defense, MP, that's rare earths. I haven't even looked at rare earths actually today, like U.S. antimony, USAR, MP, UUU, things of that nature. I wonder how this will play with rare earths, though, and potentially how this conflict, would affect U.S. Chinese, because that deal hasn't came to fruition yet. So I want to jump, I wouldn't, get ahead of that. But I will say if there is a deal between China and U.S. leaders, and this Iranian conflict might push that off. I'm not sure yet. We'll see how that goes. But that probably wouldn't be good for the rare earths, right? Because the whole point why they shot up in the first place because they got to make up the void for the Chinese, right? Since we're pretty dependent on them. But if we're still going to get them, the rare earths from the Chinese going forward, it's probably not going to be good for those two companies or, mostly the U.S. based. MP is big regardless of China deal or conflict. Yes, it is. I'm pretty sure it's the largest rare earth mining company in the Western Hemisphere, if I remember correctly. I'm pretty sure that was MP. Pennywise, do you know if that's the case or not? I'm pretty sure. If it's not the largest, it's probably right up there with the largest. PLTZ, bearish engulfing. Nice. All right, let's get into some stocks here. Let's see what we got. Let's go to stock pick ideas. Let's see what pops up in the stock pick ideas. Let's go hot stocks. Hot stocks here today, so far, not really what I'm looking for here. So let's go out of that. Let's scroll back down. Let's go to premium watch list. All right, here we got tariff resistant stocks, semiconductors, contra ETFs. I bet let's see what the contras are doing. All right, if we take a look at the contras, all the gap ups we see here, but again, they're filling those gaps of contra. They're all in positive territory. You got the dog up here, almost 1%, shorting the Russell, 0.8%. We got S&P short 500 of 0.4%. So you can see all of the, for the most part, they're all up here. If I keep scrolling, no, we don't want clean energy. I was wondering if they had aerospace and defense, and I didn't think so. That's why I didn't really mention it when someone asked about aerospace and defense stocks here. Let's see what's in the tariff resistant stocks. We got EME Corp. Actually, some of these are in positive territory today. Quanta Services, Axon up 1.2%, EME up 1.24%, Fortinet, 1/3% here, Palo Alto. So some of these are still remaining in positive territory, when it comes to these type of positions here. And let's look at the semiconductors being the tech. You see tech here down for the most part. NVIDIA is down 1.25%. Broadcom, TSM. These geopolitical concerns probably aren't going to be good for the tech heavy. NASDAQ in general, you can see Lam Research down 0.5%. Yeah, as I scroll down, semiconductors, I know that's where a lot of people put some of their attention, but just be careful if you are holding semiconductors. Again, with the MTI so high right now, just be careful of that. MP is considered a national security asset now. Pennywise, I definitely can agree with that. I think anything with exposure to rare earths is probably going to get national security recognition. I know like U.S. antimony, things of that nature. ATH today for Oracle. Okay. Let's see here. Let's go back to the screener. Let's see what kind of screens we got here. Worst stock, best stocks, top 20. They used to have a gold category here. I'm trying to think. Oh, there we are, gold and silver. Let's see what the gold and silver, because that, if you want momentum, gold and silver, based off of the news over the last 24 hours, definitely in that category between oil and defense stocks here. And we're seeing just out of the top stocks here, we only got one loser, Stillwater, but everything else, positive territories, pretty big movers here on a down day. We got K9, 2 up almost 2%, Kinross Gold almost 2%. The leader here is going to be Aura Minerals, almost 5% to the upside, and pretty strong VST ratings, right? For counter drone, look at RTX, DRS, AVAV. Yes, it's drones. We already heard, I don't know if you guys heard, but obviously watching the news on the Israeli-Iranian conflict, and the biggest thing they're worried about is an Iranian drone attack. If you're not familiar with Iran's got a lot of drone technology, kind of like Turkey, a big drone provider for many militaries around the world. Drones, yeah. We've seen after Ukraine and the Russian conflict that drones can play a pivotal role. So yes, if you're thinking defense, having some exposure to some drone stocks as well, not a bad idea at all. Now let's go back. I do want to take a look at the markets now from a graph perspective here. First one we're going to do, let's go back to the VectorVest composite. Let's just go to 3-month here. All right, 3-month, you can see the resistance level coming in. We're just shy of $72 with rejection in par. But if we notice here, if I zoom in, look at today's candlestick. I see a bottom wick, and it's an open candlestick right now. So it's hard to, just say it's a continuous sell-off. It is not. There is some buying pressure coming in today. So that's why I said be careful. I know the primary wave is flashing down right now. But you see that, look, VectorVest composite rising back up, 71.23. Now, if it closes above 71.26, that primary wave up will hold, okay? So, it's teetering right now. So if you're just, going to jump all in on, bearish positions or bearish options, just be careful. Like I said, maybe a little tiptoe, ease into it, but I'd be more worried about protecting profits than anything, because we never know what's gonna happen over the weekend. I guess the best case scenario is if there's some peace found between Israel and Iran over the weekend or next week. Well, we know what's gonna happen, right? Oil's gonna go back down, gold's probably gonna go back down, defense stocks, probably take a little breather again. But just be careful. Again, you can, if you buy something today, a stock, after 4 p.m. Well, if you got extended hours and you get a little bit more time, but you holding that thing all weekend long, and there's a lot of news going out, right? So just be careful of that. All right, let's get to see. We just want to look at the Nasdaq real quick, and then we'll get to some stock picks. So you can see, look, the Nasdaq as well filled the gap. If I zoom in here, gap down, some buying pressure there. Open bodied candlestick trading at session high. So yes, the market got knee jerked by the news, but again, don't over exaggerate that knee jerk, right? Because as of right now, it looks like the primary wave could potentially remain up. We're right on that threshold here, so just be careful. And again, if you don't like volatility, probably wait till next week, see if we get any kind of follow through, see if we get more sentiment of what's going on here. Penny wise, I'm kind of kicking myself not getting a ton of ESLT when it was trading at 220 last December. And there's a lot of good stocks that were been pretty beat up around that time. Knee jerkosity market. Yes, John, a knee jerkosity market. If we got more follow through in the sell off today, if we were at session lows, I'd be a little bit more optimistic, saying, hey, bearish positions, take profits, blah, blah, blah. But we're not quite getting there. We gapped down, but now we're moving back up, right? We didn't really get a whole lot of follow through with that gap down in the market. And I don't think the market's, new, nothing, other than a bombing, nothing really new with the Israel-Iranian conflict. Let's be honest about that. We'll see if it escalates, and obviously we'll assess it from there. But right now, I'd be more worried about, just protecting some profits with the MTI so high. And if you're comfortable opening up, bearish positions, whatever it may be, easing into those. But again, the primary wave has not been given down yet. The real confirmation will happen until 4 p.m. And since we're so close right now to that threshold, we could get that up signal could remain. All right, so let's take a look here. Let's create a watch list and let's get some stock picks going here. Let me just put GLD. Any other stocks? I do just want to take a look at gold here, but go ahead and put in your stock picks. And let's see here. We're going to do 20 stock picks. So the first 20 to come through. VRNA. Oh, shoot. Take this mouse up real quick. All right, we got rig. VRNA. VITL. AT. TATT. RTX. We got PLTR. REI. AMSC. And I'm going to put in antimony. Oh, no. I just want to see what the rare earths are doing today. AMSC. ASM. Aqua. Now, I've been talking about gold for I've done one, not this week, but last week I did a gold video. I think the week before I did a gold video. And this is only going to reconfirm my bullishness on gold right now. We got DFIN. I'm surprised actually someone didn't put that in sooner. We got ON Semiconductor. Okay. I can get behind ON. NVTS. I think ON Semiconductor was actually my first option trade with an expiration over 30 days. As many years ago, I think ON was trading back then around 25, 30 bucks, if I'm not mistaken. I do like ON Semiconductor. That's an IoT semiconductor play. Let's do this. Let's see here. USEG. MP. All right, I think that's 20. It might be more than 20. Create watch list. Why won't I let... There we go. Mobile 0613. All right, we're in the watch list here. Look at silver. Look at ASM down 2.6%. All right. You can see it started out strong, but giving it away here. VST coming out 1.5. We got AVAV, Aero Environment here 1.42. DFIN, again, this is the triple leverage ETF up 2.67%. Pretty big mover today. Energy Fuels 8.38%. Overall 1.41. Palantir coming in up 2.6%. That's why I'm saying, it's hard to get too bearish. Other than the gap down, it's hard to just switch right to a bearish. That's why I'm saying just be careful. Tiptoe into it. The semiconductors, I would definitely be careful as far as being bullish right now. You can see it trying to fill that gap, not quite coming to fruition here. Oklo gap down, filled it rather quickly, and actually now trading in positive territory, up 1%. We got Verona Pharmaceutical. Struggled this morning, but midday rally back in positive territory, almost 0.25% to the upside. Another semiconductor here, Navitas, down right now, but similar to AMD, because obviously I was looking at AMD earlier, gap down, filling the gap as we speak, right? So not a lot of follow through in this bearish sentiment. Let's see here. Too late to enter VRNA. We'll take a look at the chart here in just a moment. U.S. antimony flat here. Transocean reg flat as well. TAT a little bit in positive territory. MP up 5%. So you can see, between that and UUUU, they are moving in positive territory. UAMY slightly positive now at 302. Here we've got gold shares. That's the S&P or Spider Gold shares fund up 1%. U.S. Energy 53% here. Big Bear AI. So again, just be careful. Thinking the market's going to fall apart just because of this news story breakout, because it doesn't look like that is the case. Now, if this escalates up into U.S. involvement, heaven forbid, or some serious attacks, but definitely oil, definitely gold. Definitely defense stocks. Not a bad idea. RTX definitely wants to push higher, but it seems to be hitting some resistance just below 146. I thought it was too high in the base when I bought it. Almost got stopped out. All right, let's take a look at these here. Let's take a look at the charts. ASM will go off first. That's rocking and rolling here. Let's zoom in. Actually, I do want to add value back. I do love our value indicator here. So look at this. For the first time, ASM now overvalued. We'll call it fairly valued. But again, value on the rise. Price action on the rise. I like what I see here. Yes, the stock, was a great value pick. Still, fairly valued, but you're just not getting that anymore. RT relative timing. It's pretty stagnant right now, getting close to 2. But you can see, a lot of momentum there. You can use something like the 20-day EMA, Star Search, whatever it may be, to help take those profits off the table. Sooner than later, help capturing those existing profits. But I do still like silver and gold mining. Here is AVAV, again, lower left, upper right. The stock is overvalued. We're valuing it a little bit less than 120. Right now it's approaching $200. I'd want to see price action get above 200 and take out that wick from 3 days ago, which sits at the current high, just to get confirmation here. But other than that, I do like the stock itself. And actually, let's do this. Let's, instead of RT, Let's do earnings per share. Let's make sure we're getting into companies with rising earnings. So we got value and rising earnings. So earnings are falling there, right? So I'm going to treat it just like a momentum play. Stock is overvalued, following earnings. So if it does start to roll over, I'm of the mindset of taking profits and moving on. Here's DFIN, right? Again, lower left, upper right over the last few months here. Earnings per share obviously is going to be flat. It is an ETF. You can see the level of support here, which would be the low of 2 days ago, just above $40. That would be a good level to look at. If we break that level of support, definitely would get defensive, and most likely that means maybe there's some peace talks or things of that nature. But we'll see how this plays out. I'm not going to speculate on what Israel and Iran are going to do. Sold some Bitcoin also. Yes, Jazz. I've said this before, but for whatever reason, Bitcoin has a correlation with semiconductors. I mean, if you ever just pull up, you can do like a watch list chart of TSM, AMD, NVIDIA. You put that on a performance chart next to Bitcoin. And I mean, it's not exact, but you'll see there's a correlation there, right? Because even though it's an asset, Bitcoin, well, I consider it an asset, and so do a lot of other people. But it's not a like a risk on off asset, right? It's more of a risk off asset. So just keep that in mind when it comes to Bitcoin. But I'm still seeing, every day more and more companies are utilizing Bitcoin as a treasury asset. And that's kind of been my whole argument since I've been doing Bitcoin videos for 2 years now. Back when it was like 20, I think like 30, 40,000. I don't know. I think shortly after. So actually, yeah, I think this has been 2 years now doing these videos. And I think it was just a few months afterwards I did my first Bitcoin video. BTCI is cool, but it plays monthly distribution. And there is a Bitcoin gold ETF. So if you want exposure to both, hey, I use Bitcoin to predict what will happen with the market. How do you do that, Jazz? I'm just curious. How do you do that? But me, like if you see semis come down, if I had a guess and looked at Bitcoin today, it probably gapped down and is probably filling that gap right. Well, Bitcoin doesn't gap, but on the ETFs, it probably appeared as a gap down. Bitcoin trading 24 hours a day, so the ETFs do look a little wonky there, maybe a little gappy. Yeah, yep. And that's why a lot of people like cryptos, because they trade 24/7. If you live in a different time zone, if you work during the day, you can't trade during the day, so trade at night. I know there's been a lot of talk about the stock market being 24/7. BTCI holds Bitcoin and does covered calls on it. Okay. I do like that. If Bitcoin drops during the weekend, I know market goes down. Definitely the tech. I would Jazz, I agree on the tech. As far as the broad market, it depends how bad tech goes down, what the other sectors are up to. But if I see Bitcoin dropping over the weekend, I'm going to be safe to assume that hey, tech's probably going to open up lower, especially the semis. Yeah. So I guess we're not. I guess we're not alone with that. Pennywise is saying the same thing. So yeah, if you never thought about that, especially if you're holding tech stock, I mean, obviously Bitcoin's not going to have a correlation with defense or an aircraft company or something like that. But if you're holding tech, and Bitcoin is down over the weekend, prepare yourself, for maybe a gap down or at least the futures down Monday morning or something, right? So don't be surprised by that. But right now, DFIN, hey, if you're in it, I see a full body candlestick. I see it taking out the high 2 days ago. If you want the confirmation, if you want to wait till after the weekend, let the dust settle. You got the high there coming in, 4 candlesticks ago. Take that out. Otherwise, if you want to tiptoe into it, again, because we don't know what's going to happen over the weekend, because if you buy something now, you're going to be stuck with it over the weekend, unless you get out of it this a little bit later this afternoon. But moving on here, we got UUUU. Look at that. That's a nice full body candlestick. Energy Fuels, they do all kinds of things here. Uranium, rare earths, they got their hands a little bit of everything. Stock is overvalued. You can see the stock, its low was right where our valuation was, around $350. Now the stock, $6 almost. So it's almost doubled. And we're looking at a potential breakout from a level of resistance here, just shy of that $6 mark. But with that full body candlestick, very little, actually, I don't even see a wick, like a little dot as a wick. So we're trading at sessions highs here. I like what I see. Pennywise, the drone has an AI brain that gives it autonomy. Yeah, they've got autonomous sea drone, like sea ships that drive them. So everything's going to be autonomous. The military. We've seen movies of the future, right? It's going to be robots. There's going to be a command center, probably here in the States somewhere, with 1,000 offices, 1,000 desks, and every desk, someone is driving a little robot, whether it's a tank, a plane, a ship. That's the direction we're going to. And, obviously, being younger through the Iraqi war, Afghani war, a lot of people don't like casualties. It's hard to sell a war to the public when there's casualties being listed at the bottom of the news site, right? But if there's machines, there'll be a lot less casualties, right? It's a lot easier to sell a war, if there's less casualties on our side. So just, will Golden Corral go AI and confuse Glenn? Oh, man. Yes. Ryan, we already have technology for air-conditioned, room-based wars. Yeah, John, I know that, but it's really just coming to the pub. And you got to think here. The Predator drones, unmanned Predator drones, that was coming out in the 70s. The CIA was using them, right? So think what they got now. Drones didn't really make it public to maybe 2005, 2010 on a grand scale. But imagine what technology they got now. I mean, they got everything remote control. And we've seen, obviously, the effects of drone warfare, changing the idea of drone warfare. When Ukraine was able to sneak in the materials and assemble drones within Russian borders and get the I would say that's probably the most successful attack. I think it was about a fifth of the bomber fleet of Russia was taken out by that. Iran was using drones in the Iran-Iraq war. Yes, Iran is a big producer of drones. Other than Western nations, Turkey, I guess, would be a drone in a Western nation. Iran, China, Turkey, those are going to be, the big players for drones there. Probably India and Russia right behind it. That's where the money for the $50,000 toilet seats go. Pennywise says Skynet is coming for us. We'll see what the future takes, right? But that being said, I like it. If you're not in it, again, this stock is right at a level of resistance. I could see that upper wick getting a little bit longer. So if you're not in it, hey, wait for the confirmation, get above that resistance zone, wait for the breakout, right? If you're in it and you've been in it, the stock's almost doubled since it's low, so I'm not sure where you bought it at. But if you're almost doubled and we see a little bit, more rejection or some real rejection at this resistance level here, just keep that in mind. Protect profits. Stop droning on about drones. Trump's Golden Dome. Oh, Pennywise. But as far as increasing our missile defense and air defense system, I think that is probably a good call, especially since my senior thesis in college was ICBM, missile defense systems, but I was actually representing UAE, United Arab Emirates, on that, and to protect the GCC from Iran, right? GCC don't like Iran. That's, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, you got UAE obviously in there. So, those countries, so, they might actually be happy that Israel bombed Iran. I'm not going to lie about that. I jest about Golden Dome, but it does sound early like Skynet. I agree. It's a good thing to have. Pennywise, let's be honest here. Any kind of future defense project, especially with the rise of AI and quantum computing, right around the corner, it's all going to look like Skynet in the future, right? Hopefully it doesn't turn out like Skynet. That's what we don't want, right? For CRS, there is a full-bodied candled up, but the 3 is showing slightly below the 9. Are you talking about the 3 moving average and the 9 moving average? Just be careful here. All right, we got UU. We'll take a look at CRS. I think it's on the list here. I'm not sure. But yeah, UU, wait for the confirmation. Here's Palantir. Palantir showing a full body candlestick after the gap down. That's what I was saying. Don't get too crazy about the shorting quite yet. As long as I don't have one of those HK, was that Hong Kong tanks driving through my house? Oh God. But yeah, rising earnings, valuation still stagnant. That's been my concern. That is my concern when it comes to Palantir. But hey, I would just draw a trend line on the bottom of this low, on the bottom of that low, or this one here. Connect those two candlesticks from the bottom. As long as Palantir remains above that trend line, I'd let it rock and roll. NASDAQ already bounced back 1% since the drop. So drama over. Again, I think it was just a knee-jerk reaction. Does Hood run with Bitcoin? It will. Hood, Coinbase, they, anytime crypto is, good. Not Hong Kong. What do you mean by HK then? But as far as Hood, I mean, yes, it is going to kind of move along with Bitcoin to an extent there because it does have crypto exposure. Coinbase more likely to run with Bitcoin. More of a correlation there. But yeah, if Bitcoin takes a big plummet, I'm not going to be surprised at all if Hood, follows suit with that. Not surprised at all. Here's American Semiconductor. This actually looks like a gap play here, trying to enter the gap. Now, to get into that gap, we would have to take out the candles, the wicks from today and 2 days ago. Looks like they're about in the same range here, so just be careful of that. The 3 just crossed below the 8, but price action trying to find a level of support at that 20-day simple moving average. We got a full-body candlestick. Again, if we could surpass those upper wicks, get us into that gap fill. You got a gap fill trade setup occurring there. But the stock is overvalued. We got strong buy ratings, value on the rise, earnings per share on the rise. I'm not mad at it if you buy this dip here. Again, just look for that confirmation above the candlesticks, and I'd like to see price action stay above that 20-day moving average. Here we've got On Semiconductor. Again, nice momentum to the upside. One thing I don't like, look at the valuation. This stock's value just keeps declining and declining. It was much higher, 6 months. So yeah, you can see the value and price action both on the decline. The price action coming back, but the value is not. So I would be careful of this position here. In general. But again, you can see two touches on that 20-day SMA. But that does bring it down to about $46. But if price action does break below that, just be careful. But with falling earnings per share, falling value, I can't get too excited about this position at this time. And I like On Semiconductor. I just like what they do. I've been following them. I've put them in a couple of my IoT videos back when they had a nice run up. I think it was like $70-80. Let's see here, go to a year. Yeah, $70-80 there. And then since then, though, you can see. So if you're in it, I'd be a little bit more defensive. I'd take profits into strength, which is the situation you're in now. But ultimately, that is up to you. I'm betting PLTR reaches 150 by the end of July. I think PLTR is going to do well in a time of geopolitical concerns and in a time where we are trying to, I don't know how well Congress is trying, but balance, handle the deficit, balance our books, things of that nature, because it's the defense and it makes our defense more efficient, right? More cost effective. So I see PLTR. Yeah, PLTR is probably going to be a player in any major project, especially the Golden Dome. I could see that as well. But as far as On, not the time. It was a good time, but look at this one. That's a cup and handle, babe. I mean, I just looked at it for a second. I see a cup and handle. If you want to look at the symmetrical, just, draw a line from the bottom of the cup to the top, drag it to the top, and that might give you I had a brain fart here. A good target, right? But as of right now, 3's above the 8, way above the 20 here. 20 comes in at 50. I might use that 8. I don't know. The 20's keeping it in, though. But just looking at valuation, stagnant, not doing a whole lot of thing. Earnings per share on the decline. I'd treat it like the momentum play. It's a cup and handle. Worst case, well, I don't say worst case, but if we do see some bearish movement here at the Oclo, you might get a retest at the top of this cup and then look for the pivot for the bulls back to the upside. So that's what I'm saying. If it goes down a little bit more, I'm not going to be too concerned. Otherwise, take out yesterday's high. You see that upper wick there, big upper wick, a lot of selling pressure yesterday. So just keep that in mind. Oklo's had a big run here. They are the company, if I remember correctly, they're the ones that got the contract in Alaska for the Air Force Base, the SMR, small module reactors. Yeah, I'm almost positive. Sorry, I talk about a lot of different stocks all day, but I'm positive that's why Oklo moved big. So just, again, it's the SMR, a lot of big news around it. It's, uranium play kind of thing. So keep the uranium industry and then stocks in general. Oklo did get the Alaska. Okay, that's right. It was the Air Force Base, and Oklo did get the Alaska contract. Huh. This actually just looks nice. I mean, that's lower left, upper right. Yeah, it is overvalued, but if you don't want a lot of volatility, if you want a nice steady eddy stock, this is it. And one thing I will say, look at that. Look at the earnings per share. It was negative, but now forecasted data just coming out recently as of last month, putting the EPS in positive territory. That's always a good sign, going from negative forecasted earnings to positive. And you can see as earnings per share started to increase, looks like it was about in April. That's really when the stock, found a nice bottom on that dip and started taking off, right? So I do like this, especially it's a pharmaceutical company here and it's, turning around its earnings scenario. I like what I see. Oklo is also owned by that Altman Chat GPT guy. Is it really? He's a owner or part owner, stakeholder in the company. I did not know that. I wouldn't be surprised, just because SMR technology going to be pivotal when it comes to AI energy demand. Here is Nvidia Semiconductor. This thing went from $2 all the way up to $9. That is a huge jump as of recently. Protect profits. And I'll say this, on this high-flying moving stock, the 20-day, I'll give you a little bit more wiggle room. If you're okay with that, it's about 550. But look at that 8-day EMA. We've got 1, 2, let's go to 1 month here. 1, almost 2, 3 touches on that 8-day EMA. So if you want something a little tighter, something, help keep you in this high momentum trade, the 8-day, definitely something to look forward to. Earnings per share on the rise. The stock's overvalued. So I'm going to treat it like a momentum play. And me personally, I like the 8-day. If you want to give a little bit more wiggle room, you got the 20 there. But the 8-day seems to be working. If it breaks below that 8-day, hey, maybe take some profits off the table. I mean, that stock was below $2, hit a full 400% in a very short time, right? So this stock is a mover, Oklo cup and handle. Yes, we did talk about that. Oklo's clear cup and handle situation here. Here we've got RCAT Holdings. Looks like some consolidation between the support resistance. Little breakout. And now with the down day, we might retest this breakout here. Let's go to 3 months. Yeah, we might retest that right around this level of support and that level of support. I wouldn't be surprised at that, especially with a wick today and a wick yesterday, upper wick, showing that. NVTS, NVIDIA gave it attention. Really? All right. I have to take a look at that one here. All right, here we got UAMY. The value is just, I know the stock was pumped up. It was overvalued, but the value keeps rocking and rolling. I've been talking about the stock. So it was about, what, 70, 80 cents. The stock now, just over $3. As long as that valuation is keeping up with the price action, I still like UAMY as a long-term investment, right? Because even if we get the deal with China, we get some rare earths. Guess what? The secret's out that we need these rare earths, and this company is just going to become more and more popular. Well, this one does antimony for the most part, which is a lot of it is used for defense applications. One of the things that antimony is used for is night vision goggles, but all kinds of random things. So as defense spending increases, they're going to need these materials. And if China bottlenecks the supply chain, UAMY, MP, we've talked about some of the other rare earths here for the Western nations that could help make up that void. And that's why you're seeing these stocks been taken off now for the last little bit. Here we've got Rig Ocean. The stock undervalued, but value's on the decline. Can't be too happy about it. The value went from $7 to less than $4. It's been cut 50%. I see price action rising. I see it's undervalued. This one, well, I see a level of resistance here. We're getting rejection there. So be careful of that. If I want to get above it, I want to get above that level of resistance there. All the technicals are in my favor for the short term. Rig does offshore oil platforms. Okay. It gapped up, gave it away. I have a feeling that's probably what a lot of the oil stocks have done, especially, if the tech is still rattling. We'll see how the day finishes out, but just keep that in mind here. We've got TAT, sell rating in place. Be careful. All the moving averages are in a bearish manner right now on the chart. We're at this level of support here. We got one more level of support right where those prior lows come in, around $24. If it breaks $24, I'll definitely be cutting ties with it. But as far as buying it, no, not a fan. We couldn't even get a gap fill trade here, so no momentum for the bulls. Now here's MP, went from $20 to almost $30, 50% in just a few weeks here. MP Materials. Earnings on the decline. Stock is overvalued. I'm going to treat it like a momentum play. And honestly, I'm probably just going to keep, as long as price action stays above that 20-day simple moving average, be optimistic. If you want something a little tighter, you got the 8-day there, right? But there's no buy rating on it yet. So just be careful of that. Here we've got RTX Corp. This one hit a new high. If I go to a 1-year chart here, you can see lower left, upper right. Value's been on the rise over the last few months. Earnings per share higher than it was 12 months ago. Hot space, hot industry. I like what I see here. And if I go back in, if we get a retest probably on the high of this candlestick here, about 142, I wouldn't be surprised if that retest. Otherwise, we'll see how the news plays out over the weekend, but there might be a lot of reasons for the stock to even go higher. Here's Textron. First thing, I don't like this upper wick right at this level of resistance here. So that's the level of resistance we're going to want to take out. Coming from way back there, the prior swing high, which I could see why that is resistance now. But with value on the rise, price action on the rise, I'm not mad at the chart by any means. I would just like some confirmation, get above 80. It's only $2 away, so it's not like you need a whole lot of confirmation. But right now, we are seeing rejection at that level. Here we've got GLD. Again, lower left, upper right. This thing's been rocking and rolling now, especially over the last few weeks here. About the time I did that first gold video when the industry broke out of its downward trend line, giving some optimism. And now, geopolitical news giving reasons for gold to go higher. We see the gap up, but we see... again, no follow through from that gap up here. All of the moves were pretty much made, pre-market when it comes to some of these industries affected by the Middle East conflict. Here is U.S. Energy. Big gap up today. We see it's currently trading at 219. If I go to a 1-day, no confirmation. It's actually lower than it was from the gaps. I see a lot of consolidation, pretty much of a channel here. We break out of that channel, up to the downside. That's how I would play it. But that being said, if I zoom in here, yeah, that's the resistance I'm looking at. It's probably about 230. Here we've got Vital Farms. Let's go back to 3-month time span. Just consolidation, not much concern here. I mean, if you hit a new swing low from about a week ago, definitely take note of that. But otherwise, I see the open candlestick. I see the bottom wick. Buyers coming in. All the moving, the moving average is pretty mixed right now. Stock is overvalued, but value's on the rise. Earnings per share is on the rise. So I'm not in a rush to go jump out and buy this stock if you're in it. Again, the moving averages aren't there. So if we take out the prior swing low, definitely get defensive, and that's a level support right there as well. And that low comes in around $29.99. Here we got Big Bear AI. just a lot of consolidation, very range bound. I'm not going to speculate on whether it's going to go up or down, but just range bound. Nothing really exciting here. A cup and handle is an extremely high probability of strong upward move. Typically, yes. Pretty high probability. And you want the breakout of the handle, right? Just because you see a cup, and if you jump it in the handle's going down. That means your position's going down. So if you want the confirmation, if you want to wait for that breakout to the upside of the handle. Here we've got REI. Again, value on the decline, price action on the decline. Probably big news today. It's a filled in candlestick. So we got a gap up, but we're filling that gap as we speak now. The stock was just above 80 cents. Rejection coming in at $1 there. But value on the rise, even earnings per share on the rise. I can't get too excited, especially giving up that big gap up today, right? No real follow through when it comes to this position. All right, everybody, that's all the stocks for today. We're actually wrapping up just on time. We're almost 1 p.m. I do have the Power Hour community room today at 2 p.m. So if you got access to the VectorVest 7 software, definitely check it out. And if you don't have access to the software, I will say we're actually running a special right now. As we make this transition more into the community room, you can do a trial, 99 cents. Just go to vectorvest.com/YT special. Yep, that's right. Okay, YT special. Excellent. Gets you 99 cents, right? Especially with the market moving right now, especially with the uncertainty in the market. If you're just getting the information here and there from the YouTube channel, 99 cents for 30 days, help you, keep tuned to the market, keep tuned to what's going on. We see the primary wave flashing. Actually, that's how we should probably wrap up. Let's see what the VectorVest composite is doing here. All right, all the timing signals are up still currently. If we take a look, the price pulling back a little bit. Now we're back down to 71.16. Coming in, we gotta get above 71.26 if we want the primary wave up to hold, right? However, if you're more bearish, if you're opening bearish positions, you're gonna want that VectorVest composite to remain lower than it was 5 days ago, giving us a sense that the trend column is down. Can you get a 5-month trial? A $5 trial? Can $5 get you a 5? No, it will not, Bill. It will not. But that being said, just be careful. And I will say this for the bears out there in the woods, right? You see this little asterisk here, this price action? That means the RT kicker combo, those moving averages of RT are still in a bullish manner. The only reason we're not seeing that asterisk today is we don't have a green light, right? So just be careful. Don't let the news let you make rash decisions. I'm still of the mindset that, protecting profits, getting a little defensive, probably not the bad idea, but, just jumping all in on bearish positions and a bunch of gold and, that probably might not work out. And if you're not comfortable with volatility over the weekend and news breaking out over the weekend, just wait till Monday. Wait till after Father's Day. And that's a good, glad you brought that up, Troy. Anyone that's a father out there, happy Father's Day. Don't spend all weekend thinking about your stock portfolio. Get out there, have some fun, and enjoy life a little bit. And I will see you guys next week. Oh, and P.S. Tonight's video, 3 top stocks, 3 industries, gold, oil, defense. Check it out. I'll see you guys next week. Take care.